Hey everyone, it's Derek with Firehouse Bowfishing. We're going to do a European mount today. I've had a few people ask me how I do these. There's lots of videos on YouTube, but none of them are to my standard of how I do my thing. So I'm going to do a video for the guys that have been asking me, and hopefully it helps everybody else. So to start off with, you're going to want to get a knife, obviously, a nice good sharp knife, and take your deer head. This one that I got from Jason already has the neck meat cut off, so it's going to be a little bit easier. But you want to come and bring the camera on in here and we'll start skinning it out, show you that process. So really you can start anywhere you want to, but just get your knife in there and start skinning them out, just like skinning a deer. Takes a little bit of time. See, I'm just lifting it up and peeling away as I cut. Sometimes it's easier if you have a little bit of neck meat left on there because the deer won't jump around on you. Right up here when you get to the eye sockets, it's a little bit more difficult to get around. And the meat doesn't want to cut as easy, but just keep going, work your way around. It's okay if it comes off in chunks. I normally don't try to get this in one piece because it doesn't have to be pretty. Cut your ears off. It's just cartilage holding his ears on. You can cut straight through them. That's pretty easy with that. Alright, up here on the nose, you want to be really careful. Don't cut into this. This is going to be the most fragile part. We'll talk about this the whole time when we're doing it. If it's going to break, that's where it's going to break. So you need to be extra cautious with the nose and the sinus cavities. Almost have this done up here. Around the eye. Now the fur around the base of the antlers, just get it close. It doesn't have to be perfect. The power washer is going to take care of whatever you left behind. So if you can't get it all the way down, then that's perfectly fine. Just get as much off as you can. See, that's good enough. We'll get the rest of this fur off with the power washer. Now that we have them skinned out, we're going to take the little bit of neck meat we have left off. You can see it still plays where this vertebrae is connected to the skull cap. I'm going to go grab this other deer and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So basically what we're going to do when we come in here is this is where we're going to cut away from. We'll run the knife up into here and we'll cut through the spinal column and we'll just try to come up and around and out, and then we'll be able to peel that back and come up and around and out. But you'll feel this with your knife, and that's what you're trying to cut around. Everything in between there is cartilage you can cut, but this is the bone that you can't, obviously. So set him down, try to get in here. See, there's that piece of bone I was talking about. It's just, I like to run my knife all the way through it in the middle, and then you can just have to play with it and work around so you can see where it's at. This is, for me, one of the more difficult parts, just because trying to get that knife worked around there. Some people make this look really easy. See, that's that piece I was telling you about in the other part. You just, as you get it going, you just finish, come back here and cut it off. Last neck meat's gone, goes in the scrap bucket. Now, before we get it in the boil pot, what I want to do is get the brain out. If you boil it with the brain still in there, it's going to turn into a big old hard bouncy ball, and it's going to be a pain in the butt to get out. So what I'm trying to show here is you can either use a spoon to dig the brains out, or you can use a power washer and blow them out. Obviously the power washer is going to make it a lot easier to get them out. I got that brain mostly all the way washed out. I don't know if you'll be able to see in there with the camera, but it's pretty clear inside that hole. There's not any brain left. So last thing I'm going to do before I stick this in the boil pot is I'm going to try to remove the jaw. There's a few cuts we make here. You see the jaw is already starting to separate. So we'll pull it back. So we have that gap here. Make sure, be very careful with your nose piece. You don't want to break that. When it's sitting like this, if you put too much pressure on there, that's not a good thing. But take your knife and we're going to run along the cheek on both sides and get that piece of meat cut. And then we're going to, on the inside of the jaw, both sides, you're going to run the knife up all the way to get the bone in the skull. Like that. And then there's one more cut right here on the outside of the jaw. Get that neck meat. You should be able to take this and pry up. Takes a little bit of doing. There we go, it's coming off. Pull. The jaw is out, so we'll just come back here and cut the meat and get it to all come off with it. there's your jaw piece. If you wanted to save this for whatever reason, you could leave it on there and boil it out, or you could boil it out like this. It's better to leave it on there and boil it out because it's really frazzle right in here and it'll split in half. I'll show you mine that I did just for fun this year, and I had to end up epoxying back together because it broke. I'm going to throw that in the scrap bucket. Last thing at the tongue and that meat. Every piece of meat you can get off before you throw it in the boil is going to make it go a lot easier. So, I don't know if you heard that snap, but this is what was giving me trouble. It's this little piece of bone, and those attach right here on the inside of the jaw, and that's what you have to cut through to get the rest of that meat off. So now that we have the deer basically jaw off, de-skinned, now we're going to come over here and we're going to put it in the water. Get just enough to cover the base of the antlers. I already have some in there, but we're going to add a little more. All I use is Dawn dish soap, just something that has a degreaser. And we're going to turn the heat up, and we want to bring it to a boil, and then we're going to turn it back down and just let it simmer, probably for about an hour, hour and a half. So we'll let that do its thing, and we'll be back. So just to show you real quick earlier what we were talking about, how that jaw comes off, I went ahead and did this one just for fun, but here in the eye cavities, that is how that jaw locks into place. And right here where these points are is where those little tiny two bones were that you have to try to cut through. But you see, that's what you're trying to cut around, and that's how that lines up there. And then we'll set this down. I'll show you what I was talking about with the jaw. You can see where I had to glue it back together because that wants to split apart from you. So whenever you're power washing it clean, you got to be really careful. I took a clamp and held that together while I was power washing it so it wouldn't fall all the way apart. And then something else to keep in mind is you see these teeth. There's nothing really holding these teeth in. So I also had to epoxy these teeth back together. I don't know what I'm going to use this for other than demonstration, but I've never done the lower jaw and I just want to do it for fun. And so that's what that looks like whenever it comes out. So you'll see as I'm power washing, basically what I'm doing is I'm coming in here in wide fog. I want to work down and around the eyes with that wide fog and try to peel that meat back, and then I'm going to go to a straight pencil and I'll work around the base of the antlers and get that fur off that we didn't get. I'll flip this around, coming here on the back side with that narrow pattern, and we're just coming in here and hitting all these little spots, the little nooks and crannies, and getting all that meat out. When I lay the deer over on its side, I'm coming here at the eyeball with the pencil pattern, and I'm working in circles because that's cutting the meat. And I'm coming this way, and I'm coming the back way, and just cutting the meat, and it blows that whole eye cavity out. And the whole time I'm being really careful. You see why I have the towel down is because I'm wanting to protect this. I don't want to put too much pressure on it when it's like this or anything like that. So that's why I save this cavity to the end. But once we get all that done, we'll hit these with the wide fog, and then we'll come in here, and that's when we'll start blowing the meat out this way, so that way it comes out the sinus cavities in the back, and then we'll work the opposite direction and blow this way and push at the front. Now we got the initial power washing done, got the bulk oil of meat off. We're going to work on the brain, I guess is where we're going to start first. Corey, bring the camera in here. See if you can get a close up in there. You see a little bit of brain that's left in there. I don't know if we'll be able to tell. Maybe not. So, that's the only piece of the brain that's left. The rest of it, the brain came out the power washer, and we are clean in there. Nothing else to pull out. So, now that we got the brain out, we're going to go to the nasal cavity and the nose. We always save this to last. This all up in here is bone. We're not going to hurt that. We're going to get rid of the cartilage and save the bone. So I run my knife up in here like this. Take that off. And you'll see the white is the cartilage and the kind of dull white is the bone. It's going to tell the difference. I'm going to come in here and cut back as far as I can get it. Just in the middle. I'm going to cut that out, and you'll see the meat is over here on these sides. We're going to want to leave that alone. We're not going to want to cut that out. That's what you get your pliers for. And we're going to come in here, and this is just takes a little bit of time, but we're going to dig this out with the pliers as best as we can. It would help if you had a little bit of teeth on your pliers. These ones aren't the best, but may not have it, enough of it cut out yet. We may have to go back to the power washer and blow some out. I'll be able to show you what we're talking about then. But you're just trying to dig that out. Right up in here, and right here is some stiffer cartilage that I really want to try to save. You want to try to get the meat off around that. So I'm going to take this back out the power washer and blow it out and get it a little started a bit easier. But this right here I'm wanting to save and keep that on there to keep the nose piece together from breaking. So we'll go back out the power washer real quick. I'm going to hit that one more time and speed it up. Now that I got all that meat blown out of the sinus cavity, because I want to try to keep some of that structure in there, I don't like to pull it all out. I'm going to come back in here and cut this closer. Just the white cartilage. And I know it runs all the way to the back, and I'm not worried about that. I just want to cut out enough so that way when it's hanging on the wall, that cartilage isn't going to be visible. It's okay if it stays in there. And down to the bone there. That's back behind this piece. You'll never see that. So the last bit we have to do, now that everything else is done, is we're going to take the power washer on a wide fog and we're going to knock this last piece off on the nose, and that'll be the last chunk of meat. So we'll go back out there and do that. So something I forgot to add into this is make sure you have something on the back side of the skull, tip right there when you're spraying it, because that power washer has enough force it's going to break that bone. If anything on this here is going to break, that's going to be where it is. So if you hold that up and try to hit the power washer with nothing behind it, you have a really good chance you're going to break the tip of that nose off and ruin your good European mount. Alright, and there we go. It is power washed out, cleaned up, and we're going to go work on the whiting process next. Alright, so we're down to the whitening stage. I have here Equate peroxide. This is 3% liquid. Bought this at Walmart. It's 88 cents a quart. I got probably 10 of those put in there into the water. So what I do here is I got a little bit of that peroxide and I got some baking soda. I'm going to pour just a little bit of it in there. Probably got too much there. I'm going to stir it around. And I'm making a paste is basically what I'm trying to get. I messed up here, but it'll work for what we're trying to do. So now that I have that paste made, I'm going to take my deer head. We just got done cleaning, and we're going to sit it in the peroxide. And really want to be careful here to get it set perfectly in here so the antlers are not touching the water level, because they'll bleach the antlers. It's not an immediate effect, but you leave it in there and it'll bleach them. So just the top of the head right here, where these lines are on the skull, is what's sticking out of the water. So I'll take this solution that is made with baking soda peroxide, and you just rub it on the part that's sticking out of the water, and that will whiten that part. I'm sure you could soak the whole deer head in this stuff and it'll probably do the same thing. It's just I don't. So once you get that paste kind of rubbed on there, wipe off any if you get on the antlers. You don't want to bleach the antlers. There we go. That's all we're doing. So we're going to let that sit in there for 2-3 days, maybe a week, just depends how long it takes. This has done 5 deer already, so that peroxide is not as strong as it was, so it may take a week this time, but whenever it's ready, you pull it out, let it dry, and there's going to be your end result. Turns it white, ready to go hang on the wall. Hope this helps you out. Thanks for watching.